record, welcome everybody to our third Speed Summit. This one all about promoting ALD, the ALD Promotion Huddle. My name is Eileen Merberg. I'm the Executive Director of Alpha Lambda Delta. We're headquartered in the Rochester, New York area where I am right now. Helping out tonight is Lauren Huffman. You want to introduce yourself?
Welcome, everyone. I'm Lauren Huffman. I'm the chapter advisor for the Kent State chapter in Northeast Ohio, and I work part-time for ALD headquarters as well.
And Christine.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Christine Cohn. I'm the Director of Operations and handle a whole bunch of different kinds of things, but basically the day-to-day operations of everything.
Yeah, great. Both of them invaluable to ALD, so thank you. This conversation is about promoting ALD. How many here, and so because we're a smaller group and we're hoping for some discussions and stuff, if you want to unmute and or turn your cameras on, that's encouraged, not required. But if you want to have a conversation, or if you could, then if not, then please use chat or the reactions. But first question I have for the group is, how many of you so far have already attended a Speed Summit? And really, basically, we've only offered one topic, which is ALD 101. If you went to, so we offered two, one on a weeknight and one last Sunday. Did anybody attend the ALD 101 Summit? Okay, so nobody has. So that's okay. I just was curious because it would sort of inform what I might want to cover for this. And then, so that's good to know. And then if you have any questions, also please feel free to use chat and or turn your mics on and ask away. So one of the things, the reason we wanted to cover this topic, and in particular we wanted to cover it in September, is because it's still early in the academic year. And we know that it's important to really get ALD's name out there for different reasons in different ways, different times of the year. And so in the fall, it's a little bit different than the spring, but we'll talk about both. So this is also participatory. I'm hoping you will at least put something in chat. What did you think, before we dive into some thoughts and ideas? I'm curious what you thought. Do you remember when you got invited? What, are you a new officer? Were you just inducted this past spring or a year ago spring or last fall? Whenever it was, try and think back. What did you think when you got invited? Did you get an email? What did you think when you saw the email? And did you recognize the name Alpha Lambda Delta before you got invited? Does anyone want to share, please, your thoughts on that? I can tell you what I hear from a lot of students, but I'm curious what you experienced when you were first invited. So I'm going to give a minute for chat. Okay, thank you. Okay, so you're new. Yeah, so you didn't recognize it when you got an email. That is a common thing. Yeah. Anyone else want to share what they experienced when they first got invited? Did you think anything of it? Did you basically think it was legit, or did you have questions about its legitimacy, or did it seem a little suspect? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so that's good information. Yeah, you at least knew it was an honor society. That's good. And that it was just, yeah, one more. You probably got multiple invitations, which is common. Students, especially high achieving students like yourselves, get multiple invitations. Okay, so it's probably pretty obvious the reason I'm asking is because promoting Alpha Lambda Delta year round is just super important in terms of the impressions that students get when they get invited. And we're trying really hard to have the name recognized, and we rely so much on all of you. If that's your role within your chapter, if that's your position as chair of promotion or chair of recruitment or whatever your position is, somehow drew you to this particular speed summit. There are just so many students who get invited just do not know anything about it, Alpha Lambda Delta, and they very much suspect that it's a scam, that's not legitimate. They were invited to 6 other organizations and they all look scammy and spammy, so they'll just lump Alpha Lambda Delta in with the rest of them. So you obviously joined. We're real, we're legit. And so I'm just sort of setting the stage for the importance of promoting Alpha Lambda Delta year round. And again, I said there's sort of differences. So the fall is really a lot of promoting to students who you don't even know if they're going to be eligible. And that's okay. I think a lot of times students, officers in our chapters think, well, we're only going to promote in the spring when we invite students, because then we know who's invited and then we'll promote it to them to say, hey, you're invited, you should join. That's good. That should be done. But the fall/summer and fall is a great time to just promote it to all freshmen, whether they ever get invited or not, because it's just a great opportunity to get the name out there. And in fact, I think I've seen evidence that it can be very motivating to your freshmen. So you just had all of you had all these freshmen just start at your colleges in the fall. And they're new, they don't know what's going on, they're new to campus, they're new to your university. Hearing about Alpha Lambda Delta in the fall would be like, oh, so that's something I could strive for. And, oh, I'll get invited if I do really well in my first semester. I know that I'll get this invitation in February. That's really cool. It can be very effective. So that's really setting the stage too for why promoting is important and getting the name out. So how do you do that? Many, many ways, many things you can do to promote ALD on your campus. So I'm going to share some of the resources, but one of the first things that we're going to do is watch a 9-ish minute video. It used to be 20 minutes, so I've edited it down to just the most important parts, but this is a common topic that Alpha Lambda Delta covers throughout each year with new officers. And so we actually had an event last semester where some of our students, your peers and your positions, co-facilitated a presentation on this topic. And so I edited it down to just less than 10 minutes. And we thought, well, who better to talk about this topic than our student leaders? Oops. So hang on one second. I just lost my sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so we're going to watch this video. And then, Lauren, if you wouldn't mind just making sure that it's letting me know on microphone that it's showing.
I can see it.
Okay, great.
And Caroline, I see your question. I'm going to find a good resource for you right now while the video is playing.
Great. Okay, sorry about that. I just had a little trouble getting it ready here.
So first of all, this topic is obviously quite important, and I think we all probably know a little bit about this. But as for the importance of this, it helps to create a recognizable brand. So students will be able to recognize the brand and logo of ALD when they receive, whether it's the email in the winter, the email in the spring, whenever they do end up receiving that email. It's super important that we're able to have that brand be recognized so that people see it and know what we're talking about, know who we are, so they don't think it's a scam. We want to legitimize the organization. And like I said earlier, one of the biggest things that we hear is that people think ALD is a scam. So it's super important that people are able to legitimize the organization and understand that it's a real thing. Another thing is we want to be able to associate the colors and the logo with our name. Again, it's important that we recognize the brand so that we can combat the concern of it being a legitimate organization. It's also important to gain the interest of students to see, like, they will see real people doing things like on their campus, whether it be we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but being involved in like the involvement fairs or different service projects throughout the campus, it's important to gain that interest of students and give them something to kind of promote. And that goes into motivating to keep that GPA high. But it's important to have that motivation to keep the GPA high and have a goal for them at the end of their first semester, especially, or their first year, I guess, really, and joining that organization at the end of that. It's also really important to build a community for them, to give them something to look forward to. I know that as freshmen and first year students, people don't often have a lot of people that they associate with, and it's super important to have somebody that they can go to and have something that they can look forward to, and kind of give them some people to fall back on. We go to the summer new student orientations. So that's when before students get, like all the students get to campus, you can start attending those new student orientations and promoting ALD there. A lot of campuses do this first year orientation, and helping out with this or having a plug at this is super helpful as getting the ball rolling and getting people interested in joining ALD. The summer service project is something that a lot of chapters can do also. It may be a little bit more difficult for chapters since people might be kind of spread out, but you could do some small events around your city for those that are close by and try to get as much involvement as you can. It's super important to stay up to date on all your social media platforms. As was mentioned earlier, you don't want to have a bunch of chapter pages that aren't super active. You want to make sure that all those chapter pages are active so that people know who you are and can see that you're actually doing stuff on campus. Because if you have that post from 2017 as your last post, it's going to make people a little bit turned away from the idea of joining just because it doesn't seem as though you're super involved. And then marketing to the class of 2027 groups on either Facebook or Instagram is a super huge way to help promote the chapter and make it recognized early, and start promoting that idea of getting that 3.5 GPA as early as you can.
So we already talked about the summer, and now we're going to move on to the fall. So you can do a little bit more in the fall, obviously, because students are on campus. So for this, we've broken it up into 3 categories. We have traditional promotion, non-traditional promotion, and online promotion. So first, we're going to talk about traditional promotion in the early fall. So when we say traditional, we just kind of mean that these are some ways that you probably dropped in the chat, maybe some ways that you're already promoting your chapter. The first way is, like a lot of you mentioned, club fairs. Club fairs are a great way. You can be out there with lots of other students. While you're at the club fair, it's super important to wear your ALD merch. While you're at any of these promotion events, it's really important to wear your merch and make sure you have colors, you know, the red and the gold, so that people associate ALD with those colors. And when they see those colors, they think of ALD. Another great way is the fall new student orientation, similar to the summer orientation. It just depends kind of on what your school does, whether it's in the summer or the fall. Also, move-in day or welcome week. You can be outside of freshman dorms or residence halls, or if your chapter or if your school has a welcome week. Some campuses I know do stuff a little bit early for freshmen, maybe have a week dedicated to just freshman events. So if you're able to, you can go on campus and start promoting ALD and talking to some students about it, giving them kind of the benefits of it. Also, another common way are information sessions. So you could sit inside of the dining hall or the library or the student center at a table and just let students come up to you and ask you questions about ALD. Or you could also hold intentional information sessions that you can invite students to come to, like a room to hear some stuff about the benefits and what ALD is. And then lastly, for a traditional way to promote are posters in first year dorms. Again, it doesn't have to be a dorm. You could do this in the dining hall, in the rec center, just posters anywhere that freshmen might frequent. And with the posters, you kind of want to make sure that they stand out. Again, that they use the ALD colors and the ALD logo so that people recognize the ALD brand. We're going to talk about non-traditional ways. So again, these are just maybe some newer ideas that you didn't drop in the chat or you haven't thought of before. So the first one is to speak at first year classes or seminars. At Kent State, we have classes that every freshman is put into called first year experience. So every freshman is assigned a class and they go to it once a week. You could ask the professor or someone in the college if you're allowed to speak at a class or a seminar. That way you can introduce ALD to only the freshman students. I know when you're on campus, you're kind of advertising it to everyone, and ALD is really focused on first year students. So you can promote at the first year classes specifically to your target, the freshman students. Another way is convocation. This is just one of the first events that is held in the fall for freshmen. And this is where like the dean of the college speaks or the president of the entire university speaks. If you can't actually be at convocation, I know a lot of times these events have super strict schedules and you wouldn't be able to speak there. You can also always wait outside of the building that it's being held in, or just be on campus when you know convocation is being held, so that you can stand outside, maybe pass out some things, whether it's a button or a sticker or something, again with the ALD logo, so that people see you and will remember that ALD has real people. Like we said earlier, it's important to legitimize the organization. So seeing people about on campus in the merch and talking to students is a great way to do that. Another way to do that is if your school has an honors college, you can participate in honors college events. I know our chapter is associated and housed in our honors college. So if they have any events or if they're having a speaker come, it's really cool if you're able to partner and collab with them and do some events with them. Again, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but ALD merch handouts, whether this is at specific events or if you're outside of a place where a lot of freshmen are, handing out stress balls or little goodie bags or just like a flyer that talks about ALD. That is a great way to show freshmen who you are and have them meet someone that's in the club and get them super interested and excited to join it in the spring. And then the last way that you can non-traditionally promote in the fall would be to hold public events. And this would be where you don't invite only just the members, but you also let them invite their friends, or you hold it in a public space where people walking by can see that something's going on and stop over and hear about it. And then another way to promote in the fall, the last category would be online events. So we kind of talked about this already, but it's important to have a strong online presence, especially on your social media, because that's what college students usually check first. It shows that you're legitimate. It gets people excited. It's important to advertise your handle so people know where they can look up to find your information. It's really important to post Instagram or Facebook, whatever social media you use, stories and posts from events. It's also really a good way to promote would be to email prospective students in the fall. This is a great way to get them excited, again, to motivate them to keep their GPA high, along with emailing them just that they're eligible or just to let them know about the club. You can also email encouraging messages, maybe mental health tips, or just email them resources that they can use on your campus. And then another way, if you have it in your budget, would be to do social media giveaways, where you give away to a student who follows the Instagram or comments on the post, something like that, so that you can really try and increase your social media presence. And then also, like we kind of already mentioned, it's really important to try and get rid of out-of-date accounts so that people know that your chapter is still active and aren't following the wrong account. And again, you can do that by passing down the credentials to your account and the information and the passwords. That's a really important thing to remember. So lastly, what we're going to talk about are some of the resources that ALD has for you. The first one is actually on the ALD website. Thank you, Lauren, for dropping that in the chat if you want to take a look at that. It's basically a resource. If you click the link, you can see it and scroll down about 3/4 of the way. It's a resource to show you some other fall semester promotional ideas. It's a great resource to have. There's some more ideas on there that we didn't even cover in this presentation. So if you want to check that out, you should totally do that. And if you forget anything we talked about, there's some great points on that.
Great. Lauren, if you want to go ahead and put that in the chat. I don't know if you did that. I'm not sure. I'm going to keep this webpage open just to show you some of the resources and then see if there's any more questions. So that resource that Lauren and Kerrigan just mentioned is, well, we'll start with the officer resource page. Just make sure, if nothing else, that you know about this page. So nationalald.org is our website, and then /officers has a lot of information for officers, for all officers, including you all. The media kit is really where you're going to get the logo. You can use different types of logos. A lot of the branded stuff, you can have things customized that we'll customize for you, just for your chapter, including our logo. We can include your name on it. If there's an example. Yeah. Oh, that's my name. I have a university named after me. No, not really. So that's an example of a type of logo you can get. And then we do offer some free publications, so a study tip bookmark to give out, brochures, that sort of thing. So there's tons of resources here, and again, all geared towards promoting ALD. One of the key things too, I don't think a lot of times students don't scroll all the way down, but I wanted to point out this: if you do have an Instagram account or don't yet and you want to create one, keep this page in mind, because what we're doing is creating the content for you to just take and post. So we've done a series called Study Tip Sunday. So you can just grab any of these posts and post them on your own Instagram account on Sundays and Wednesdays and Fridays. So those are just examples of things you can borrow or take. And this is actually the more direct link that was mentioned, which is the handbook. So I thought I'd go to the overall handbook page. Lauren put in chat, I believe that, yeah, the recruiting piece. So this is just overall. Just know that there is a chapter handbook with just a ton of resources for you, but in particular for promoting ALD, and referenced in the video is the best practices page. So that's what they referred to. So as she said, scroll down a bit and you'll get all sorts of ideas for fall promoting, and the publications is there. Lots of information there. While I'm still screen sharing, I think there was a question, Lauren, was there a question about what, if you do have access to be able to write to all freshmen, what are some examples of things you'd say? Is that how I understood that question?
Yep, Caroline asked that.
Okay, that's a great question. So first of all, if you have the ability to email all freshmen in the fall, that's amazing. Like, that's not really that common that you'd have that opportunity to be able to reach all of them. Some universities are really cracking down on the types of emails that get sent. So yeah, that's there's all sorts of about ALD and quick facts if you wanted to include like a PDF. But while I'm here, I wanted to point out one other thing, and it's in we do have this other page called Chapter Resources Library. Different than the handbook, but handbook links there. But lots of information here as well, including some customizable documents. But there's one here that you might be able to, it's sort of a long-winded letter, but you might be able to get some use out of it, which is sample colleague letter. So /resources, customizable documents, sample colleague letter. And what this is mostly really maybe your advisor could use this, but it's very, very effective for promoting Alpha Lambda Delta. But I'm pointing it out because you might be able to glean some information from it. But essentially, if you could get your advisors to take this letter and customize it to your campus and have them send it to all their colleagues, it's essentially a letter that says, you know, I'm Susan Huffman, the chapter advisor at Purdue. I advise Alpha Lambda Delta. It's legit. And when your students start to are invited or start to get the emails inviting them, just know that it's legitimate and that they should join. So again, yeah. So it's long-winded, but it's got some nice, succinct language that you could use in an email. If you were to be able to send an email, you can use some of that language. So that's what that is. That's a customized. But if your advisors could grab that and customize it to their to your campus, that would be awesome. Okay, Lauren, did we get anything else in
You got it.
chat? Go ahead.
You got it.
Oh, did I? Oh, okay. Media kit. Yeah. Oh, Cora's talking about her internet. Okay. Okay. Do we have some, you want to do some prompts for discussion
Mhm.
and question, if there's questions? But I think we covered. Okay, so let's do a little bit of chat. Again, nobody seems to want to unmute. That's okay though. If y'all can, what are some things, put in chat, what are you currently doing, something that's interesting that somebody else might want to hear more about, or just in general, what are you doing or what do you plan to do to promote ALD on your campus? Any ideas and thoughts? Minute? Oh, I don't know if you saw that in chat, Caroline. Hi, Caroline from Iowa State, right? Hi. Did you send them to the wrong Huffman? It was it's Susan Huffman. Oh, I get, okay. Yeah, you sent it to Susan Huffman at Purdue. Caroline, I'll ask Susan if she got them. They're really not related, but they do have the same last name.
I can tell you because I spoke with Susan earlier today, she did get them.
Oh, awesome. Well, look at that.
So thank you.
Great. Yeah,
Aw,
thanks,
yeah.
Caroline. Yeah. I was so confused for a second. I'm like, wait, she sent them to Lauren.
I was like, oh, haven't received those, but
But Susan did. Okay, so
well, Tennessee State wrote in.
oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. It was just a direct message to me. So,
okay.
at Tennessee State, we use Instagram posting event recaps, and we also have a poster board for our Courtyard Wednesdays, where all orgs on campus showcase their organizations and answer questions. That sounds really cool.
You know, I mentioned, so whoever that was from Tennessee State, you were maybe not then at the 101 session last week because I gave a shout out to Tennessee State's Instagram. Can you put a link to your Instagram at Tennessee State? They're doing a great job there. I mean, a lot of chapters are, but I just know that they posted a couple videos for some event they had coming up, and they're getting a lot of engagement on their social media and Instagram. So if you could put that in chat, and in fact, you know, if anybody else here has an Instagram account for your chapter, if you could put it in chat, everybody should be following each other anyway. You know, everybody wants more followers to their account, so that's a nice way to support each other, other chapters across the U.S. And Lauren, if you could put our Instagram into that as well, we should make sure that you're at least following Alpha Lambda Delta. Okay, Caroline at Iowa State, how often do you suggest we have a meeting of all of our members to attend? We had our first meeting last night for people. Yeah. So any comments on Carolyn's question about, I have some thoughts, but anyone want to chime in on how to get people to turn out to the events? Another good way to promote ALD is, as the video said, you know, public events are just events where you're visible on campus. Is again, when they get invited in February, they're like, oh yeah, I saw they had a meeting. You know, they're gonna recognize it. So being visible on campus is good. Before I talk, Lauren, do you want to chime in about that one? Meetings. I have a couple thoughts, but
Absolutely. So what we do in my chapter at Kent State is we'll attach our meetings to some other event that will hopefully increase the attendance. So typically we'll have a meeting, but then we'll also attach it to a service project or a social or doing like a stress relief type thing, just to try to make it an opportunity for students to do more than just like hang out for a couple minutes and hear some information, but to actually hopefully have some fun.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think, having it have something other than just a meeting, have as many reasons, or more than one reason together. So come pick up your certificate. We're going to have a speaker talking, for 20 minutes about how to win a scholarship. We're going to have someone here talking about writing cover letters and resumes. Some content that is a reason for them to come rather than let's all just meet. Game night could be fun and social. And food is super important. So have food at your events. Snacks, a meal, even pizza, ice cream social, have some sort of food. That's a big draw. And the last thing I would mention, and I don't know if there's anyone here who does this, and we'll wrap it up because we're at the half hour, is point systems. So Caroline, you might want to consider that for Iowa State. I don't think they do that. But point systems are becoming very popular in our chapters. So it's a little bit of a system you got to work out, but it shouldn't be too hard. Whatever your schedule of things are for the coming year, attach points to them. And then, so let's say it's, they get 5 points or 1 point for coming or whatever, and they get 10 points total, they get a free honor cord, or they get some sort of swag from our store or a t-shirt or a cup or a button or something. Hardly matters what the prize is. People like prizes. So try and think of point systems. And last link, can you throw the link to the chapter ideas page? So we have this chapter ideas page for things you can do with your chapters. And if you scroll down enough, you're going to see lots of resources about point systems if you want to implement a point system. So if you want to hang out for that, thank you so much. The chapter ideas link, grab that link before we wrap it up. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for taking on a leadership role with the chapter. We really appreciate it.